Hello, Irshad. Welcome back to the Netherlands. Thank you for being here. Last time your visit was quite tumultuous, so how have you been ever since?
It was tumultuous. It was December 2011, and I was speaking at Dibali Community Center with Taufik Dibi. And quite unexpectedly, a group of, I would call them imperialist invaders, crashed our party. They were members of Sharia for Belgium. And because they came from Belgium and not from the Netherlands, I thought it was very ironic that they scream about foreign imperialism, but then practice it themselves. Anyway, as you can see, I'm here. Tawfik is here, thank goodness. And I, at least, am doing very, very well. And I'm happy to be back in the Netherlands.
Good, good. So your lecture in Maastricht was called Beyond Geert Wilders. Well, what does it mean to go beyond Geert Wilders? What is your message to the Dutch people or to Geert Wilders?
Yes, to Geert Wilders himself, to the Dutch people, and frankly to all people, because we live in an era which is highly polarized. There is us and there is them. And the fact of the matter is that no matter how sophisticated and how advanced we think we are as human beings, we are all, myself included, operating from very tribal mindsets. I find it very ironic that the right-wing populists so often accuse all Muslims of living in the 7th century. But by sort of coloring all of Islam as ugly and hostile, they are actually living, these right-wing populists, hundreds of thousands of years ago. They are even less evolved than they claim we Muslims are, because they come from a very sort of primitive mindset that says anything that I do not understand, I must fear, and I must be threatened by. And unfortunately, that sentiment is spreading, not just against Islam. It is spreading between left-wing people and right-wing people against one another. And my argument at the TANS lecture in Maastricht was that there is a way for all of us to evolve without sacrificing freedom of speech. And the way to do that is to understand that we have failed in this part of the world to explain how to use freedom constructively. We are very good at giving freedom to our young people, but we are terrible at demonstrating how to use it well, and even more, why freedom matters. And so in my lecture, I really focused on the how of restoring meaning to freedom instead of demeaning it. And I believe that populists of both the left and the right, who use their freedom of expression to destroy and conquer, are demeaning freedom. It's time now for good people, people who have the right intentions, to stand up and restore meaning to freedom.
The New Web project also deals with liberty and freedom and how to deal with differences within a multicultural society. What does it take to do this, in your view?
First of all, you have on one side, you have polarization, us versus them. And then on the extreme other side, you have passivity, which is, oh, I better not participate because if I say or do the, quote, wrong thing, I will be judged for it. What do you have in the center? You have a lot of confusion. But actually, what we can have, instead of polarization and instead of passivity, we can have pluralism. And let me explain what that means. It's not an abstract theory or an academic idea. To be a pluralist means that you actually do take a position on what is right and what is wrong, what is acceptable and what is unacceptable, what is conscionable and unconscionable. You can and should have a position, but have it with the humility to recognize that any position you take is subject to having more experiences in life and hearing better arguments down the road. That's why freedom of speech, even when it is painful, this is why freedom of speech is non-negotiable. It is because it's the only way to hear diversity of thought. And it is from diversity of thought, not diversity of skin color or gender or sexuality or all of those other external factors, but diversity of what we believe and why. That is how we determine, okay, what's the right thing to do in any given situation? And what I am hearing, if it is challenging what I already believe, why then do I believe what I believe? So diversity of thought or pluralism doesn't have to destroy what you believe. It can actually help you clarify why you take a particular position. But the point is, don't reduce diversity to just labels. Elevate it to knowing that somebody who is brown-skinned like me might not think the same way as me. And so let's treat one another as individuals, unique individuals, even as we belong, each of us, to various collectivities and groups.
In December, you, Rabia Kadir, and Ayaan Hirsi Ali, who is no stranger to us, will receive the Lantos Human Rights Prize. Congratulations.
Thank you.
How do you feel about sharing this award with these women?
Well, as you know, I am a colleague of Ayaan. As you also know, I happen to disagree with her on many aspects of her philosophy. She has every right to believe what she believes, but I think that her previous positions about Islam not being able to reform are wrong, and now she has changed her mind. But she is also coming from outside of the religion, so it's very difficult for her to be taken seriously inside the religion. In saying all of this, my point is actually counterintuitive. Though she and I disagree on a great deal, nonetheless, we have affection for one another as individuals and as human beings. And really the bigger point here is disagreeing with one another's ideas does not have to mean denying each other's humanity. And I firmly believe that if we all understood that simple thought and practiced it, that democratic dialogue would be so much less difficult. Rabia Kadir, I have never met her. I cannot wait to share the podium with her because, as some people know, she is probably the most important voice in defending the oppressed Muslim minority in China. And she does so from a position of strength, as somebody who has been a self-made entrepreneur and has used her own wealth to advance the cause of human dignity for Muslims, very much like the Prophet Muhammad's beloved first wife, Khadija. So all of us are different from one another, and yet I think we all share the same goal of a world in which freedom of expression is not just permitted but encouraged. And we have very different approaches to it. So I have to congratulate the Lantos Foundation for not picking robots, but for honoring individuals who can be different and at the same time share an overarching vision.